Welcome back to Agency Accelerated, where we explore ways to grow and scale your agency with some of the most trusted brands in the industry. I'm Stephanie Liu, and we're live every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Make sure you head on over to agorapulse.com/calendar and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And stay until the very end because you'll get a chance to get your hands on yet another way to add more revenue to your marketing agency. All right, crew, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to the folks that are tuning in live with us today. Go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm here in beautiful, sunny San Diego. That's right. So, listen, friends, when a customer posts content to social media about a brand and the brand is able to amplify that content, that's UGC. That's user generated content. And because it's a consumer that other consumers can relate to and trust, 79% of people say that UGC highly impacts their purchasing decisions. When you start encouraging and leveraging UGC on behalf of your clients, their brands get to tap into those incredibly high statistics and the effectiveness that they represent. So I wanted to make sure we talked to the perfect guest to help us sort all of this out. Having said that, let's go ahead and introduce our guest today, Benedict Stor, who completed his undergraduate degree in business studies at EBS and continued his academic career in an international environment with a Master's of Science at CBS Copenhagen. Is that right?
That's right.
That's right.
Hey, Steph. Thanks for having
Awesome.
me.
Nice to have you here. So, everyone, parallel to his studies, he gathered valuable experiences in the consulting sector and Berlin's startup environment as a founding team member of Gimondo. Did I say that right?
Gmondo. It was a
Gimondo.
German copy of Daily Burn. Maybe you know that in
Oh,
the US.
very cool. Very cool. And in 2016, Benedict co founded squarelovin, a SaaS business enabling brands to fully benefit from visual user generated content shared in social media. So, hey, Benedict, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Blending in from not so sunny Hamburg in Germany.
I was curious about that. I haven't traveled very often, but I was like, what is the weather like over there?
Yeah, we're actually known for it's pretty gray all the time, but we used it, so it's fine.
Well, one day I hope that you can make it out to San Diego because the weather is beautiful today, but we would always love to have our guests come and visit. So, having said that, shout out to Eddie Amadi, who is tuning in from Nigeria. Isn't that interesting, Benedict? We have viewers from all over the world that get to tune in and hear all about Square 11. That's awesome.
That's probably one of the few positive aspects of the last year and the pandemic, turning everything even more digital, even more remote, making it possible for everyone to turn in. Yeah.
That's very true. So, Benedict, the question that I have for you is can you start off a bit with sharing a little more about what you do and what Square 11 is all about?
Yes, I would love to. I think your explanation was already pretty perfect and summed it up quite clearly. So we are a SaaS company. We're building software and tech uh, in the field of customer-driven marketing. That is how we actually call it. A marketing where the customer and his or her content is playing a substantial role within the marketing mix, or is even in the center, and this is the key of the entire brand's marketing mix. And for that, 6 years ago, we developed a software called our user-generated content manager, meaning that we enable brands to tap into every kind of visual content that people are sharing related to the brand in social networks. So in simpler words, pictures and videos shared on Instagram and then tagged by a hashtag or something else. To use this kind of content in a scalable way to acquire usage rights and then fuel every imaginable marketing channel with this kind of content. And the second tech or software that we've built is a creator tool, enabling brands to identify and search for creators or micro and macro influencers right in their surrounding already in their community, and then to to create content together with their custom community. And again, this leads to customer-driven marketing, to have marketing on eye level, so to say, which really serves the customer, which is and marketing that is not tries to educate the customer, but really serves him or her with something special.
Wow, it seems like squarelovin is this all-in-one inclusive platform that connects brands to content creators, makes the whole research process just so much easier, so much more streamlined, and that's so needed, especially in the agency world.
Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. We've been on the agency side before. We know the struggle. We know very long Excel lists. We know yeah, how much time it actually takes simply to bargain with people, to document all the conversation, all the dialogues you have, maybe usage rights, maybe the kind of content that you actually need. And yeah, we know how time consuming and hard it actually is. And on the other
Yeah.
hand side, we see enabling platforms or software, to have it in a very abstract way, simply said Instagram, that is a
Hmm.
gold mine of great content, a platform where people can display themselves, where people love to display themselves with brands. So that has really changed the access to content actually, but very few brands and even fewer agencies, have looked at that.
Agree. Yeah, the whole process of researching content creators, documenting the conversations, who spoke to who, contract negotiations. I think
Yeah.
having that all in one source makes it so much easier. And so, having said that, I mentioned how 79% of people say that UGC highly impacts their purchasing decisions. So, can we break that down just a bit? Like, why is UGC so special?
Mm, there, there's some information about that. I think the first one is very scientific and it's an evolutionary fact. Decisions are uncomfortable, so you have to take responsibility for them. You have to decide for something, and in the history of humanity, it was always the better way to stick with a group since it increased your chances of survival. That's a very
That's so
simple
true.
evolutionary fact. So people
Yeah.
do not like decisions; they're uncomfortable with it. Some are better and faster with it, more independent than others. So whenever you make a decision, and that might be a simple purchasing decision, you would love to have input. You would love to kind of share the responsibility for the decision you make, and therefore you love to ask peers, family, and friends, since you trust those people. And again, the stage has changed. Those peers now appear in social networks. So it can be the community of a brand that you also have trust to. And that is why you're looking at this kind of content, at like social content. Um, there's a very short story that I might share that somehow displays it very perfectly, I think. Last year, I don't know if it was Corona only or a quarter life crisis or something, I looked for a new hobby and I wanted to buy a new racing bike. No idea about racing bikes, never sat on one, but I saw one on Instagram on a friend's page. And like in an instant, I knew I had to buy this bike. But this is not how you make a decision, meaning I went into a store, I got explanation and consulting from an expert. I rode some bikes and I ended buying the only bike that I did not sit on in the entire process, the one that I saw on Instagram. And I think the one or the other can recognize themselves in that kind of story. So we get the inspiration by people that we trust or by peers. And then the second most important fact next to this kind of inspiration and evolutionary effect is that purchasing decisions are highly emotional. And no kind of content beats UGC in terms of emotions and how they can actually deliver those. Those are
Agree.
probably those two factors. And thirdly, and this is the most powerful number, people look for authenticity. And this is something that brands can simply do not deliver. Everyone knows that pictures and describing text are, how do you say that, artificially beautified. So we all know they want to sell, and that's fair enough because that's their job and they're convinced by the product. But we need authenticity in terms that we can really believe the person who shares her or his experience with it. And I think UGC, and if someone uploads with an intrinsic motivation a picture or video of a service or product that he or she just experienced or loved, I think that's like the holy grail that a brand can actually find. If someone is so intrinsically motivated to share something positive about a brand, it's simply unbeatable.
I love it. I love it. The other thing that really made me smile was when you were talking about how you bought the bike that you didn't even sit on or test ride yourself, but based off of the influence that you had from your family and friends who can give you advice. And what I can say is, even as a content creator, as a live streamer, there are often times when new cameras will come on will will come into the store shelves, right? And everyone wants to, oh, Stephanie, you should go get this. And I think what's really halted my experience as far as not wanting to invest in gear that no one else in my community has is because if I'm the only one that, well, there's a door that just opened.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I really thought I'm on my own in the office.
No, you're good. You're good. Um, where was I going to say? Yeah, so I think sometimes I buy gear because other people in my community have purchased it too. And so if I have questions about it, there's a built-in community whom I can ask questions from as well. So I don't feel so alone in my purchase, but I have other people that are um, along on that journey with me and who I can ask questions with. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and again, that is yeah, the kind of user generated content that maybe doesn't make you buy it in the very first place, but it also, to have a like strong and interacting community is also an added value that a brand can deliver, and the brand that a brand can give to their customers or potential customers. So UGC is not only one picture of the camera or my written text about it, but it can also be exactly what you just shared. Uh, yeah, giving your community a stage, and that is a great added value.
Love
Yeah,
it.
now the door is closed, and now we're on our own again.
I love
Yeah,
it. No, it just shows you, hey, we're live at this moment. And even before you had said that, my little one tried to come in too, and I was like, the lights are on. So having said that, I want to give a quick shout out to Nancy Lewis Hill, who is a part of the show right now. She's here in the comments and she's saying, great points. Authenticity is always powerful. And not only that though, but built in community of people you trust. Because that's really what it is that if I know that if I want to invest in something, like, hey, Agora Pulse, right? And if Nancy tells me, hey, Stephanie, I'm able to make content so much faster, put it in my publishing queue and all the different things, and I know that her feedback is going to save me headaches and all the troubles with trying to figure stuff out, I'm going to find a lot of value in that. So user generated content is always super helpful. And I love what Benedict was saying earlier too. When content creators are sharing their videos, their reviews, and all the different things, they want to share their experience, right? It's kind of like, I want to save you from this pain point, or hey, I want to show you something super amazing that I feel like is really going to change your life. Whereas sometimes as an agency, when we hire copywriters, right, copywriters go into what are the emotional things. It's all, as Benedict said, it's artificially created to move emotions and all the different things. And I think even for those of us that are marketers, we're like, oh, I know what you're doing, right? I know what levers you're pulling, the attention, the interest, the desire, the call to action, all the different things. But most content creators, right? Most content creators are are really just creating because they want to educate, they want to inspire, and really just help their fellow peers. So I love all of that. Nancy Lewis is saying, "Oh my gosh, right, show me when it's in use." Yeah, Nancy, I love it when people show me like, okay, before I invest in a SaaS product or anything, right? Unbox it for me. What would I as a user experience first glance, what does it look like? How's the onboarding process and all the different things? Cool? Awesome.
May I just add one thing because it was kind of a glorification if people want to share the experience and all of that. It could be even simpler. People just want to show off their new product, their
Yeah.
new purchase, or their journey, and that is fine too. So it's simply that their intrinsic motivation will always be a different one than a brand might have, and that's why it's so powerful. Yeah,
Love it.
and then again, as I said, we should never underestimate the topic of emotions. Actually, I bought a bike because I like the color, simple as that. Although I informed myself, and same applies for different things. I booked a holiday because I saw a great picture of the region on Instagram. And then I rationalized the decision by comparing hotel room sizes, which was not important at all. I already booked it in my head, so it was a made decision. But of course, as an adult, I had to compare hotel prices or something. But the decision was already made, based on a simple picture on Instagram. So, and I come from content marketing. I know what I'm doing, but I know that the tricks work on me too.
Oh yeah, the tricks work on me too. And there are often times when I look at ads, the ads on Facebook or on Instagram, like, oh, I love how they use that word. I love the pacing, the leading, the testimonial, and all the different things. We all learn from each other. And so, shout out to one of our Facebook viewers who's saying, love UGC, just signed a contract with club, coffee shop, and cocktail bar, showing them how to be more UGC friendly. Which, hello, friend, I think this is going to be the perfect episode for you because that's exactly what we are talking about. So, having said that, Benedict, for marketing agencies who haven't dealt with much UGC in the past, right? What are the steps they typically go through on behalf of clients?
I think the very first thing, just to just to declare that one, I'm not a know it better. So I know that agencies and brands would love to work with the UGC. Many of them are very aware of the positive characteristics, but there are some, yeah, there are some bumps in the way when it comes to access to UGC. So it's not as simple as someone publishes it on Instagram, you just grab it and then put it on your advertising on Times Square. So there are some things when it comes to legal terms and usage rights that agencies should start to inform themselves about. So you're not allowed to use someone's picture just because they've used a hashtag or something. That is at least a very strict situation here in Europe. And I know that great parts of this also do apply in the US, at least for the US clients that we are working with. They take it very seriously. That is the very first one. So I know that agencies tend to go for the simpler solution, meaning there could be stock photos or branded content or influencer content. Yeah, just to say that I know that brands and agencies are also aware of the positive effects of UGC. But the very first thing probably would be to get a very strong idea of the brand aesthetics, how the brand would like to be perceived, how they would like their products or service to be presented, what their typical language would be, how they would like to step out to the market, to their community, to fans, to potential customers. And that is the very first step. And then step two is actually, I really like that step, is the reality check. So figure out if what we're dreaming of and the perfect presentation of our own brand, how does it look like in the real world? And we've seen that many times that brands came to us and said, yeah, there's plenty of UGC, but it does not show us in a very preferable way, not the way that we perceive ourselves. It's we do not like the people showing the brand. We do not like the situation or the context that they're showing our brand in. And that is something that very often stops UGC projects, since brands or agencies then say, "Yeah, we simply do not like the nature of the content." And I think that's a shame, and I think that's a wasted chance actually, because that is the perfect and most transparent feedback a brand or agency might get. How is my product actually used? By whom? When? In combination with other products or services or places or times, whatever it is. So there's so much actually to learn from the kind of content that people are already sharing with you. And you should take all of this in step two and then go back to step one and again ask yourself how you would actually like to be perceived, and if it needs some adaptation after this reality check. That these are like the very first two steps that I would highly recommend.
I love that. Yeah, I find that most people, most brands, when they're working with content creators, if they make the guidelines too strict, then it kind of prohibits the content creator from being creative in that essence, right? The other thing too is you're right in the sense that sometimes brands have this idea of how consumers actually use that particular product, but sometimes you'll be surprised by how consumers are actually using it, right? And so it makes it super duper helpful. And so, having said that, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Tristan Griffiths. He says, "You need permission to reuse. We know and have enforced this to our advantage to get further bookings when misused. And so, offering them an opportunity to hire us as they obviously like our work." And so, having said that, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about user generated content and how agencies can help clients with it. But first, here's going to be a quick reminder for you. This show is brought to you by Agorapulse, voted the #1 social media management tool by customers on the planet's top review sites. And if you're looking for yet another way to increase and diversify your agency's revenue streams, Agorapulse has a free webinar to help you do exactly that. Head on over to bit.ly/ad agency revenue to sign up, learn, and start driving more revenue from social media services. Right there, right there. That's definitely where you want to go. So let's get back to UGC, Benedict. How have you seen some of the most successful agencies manage UGC for clients over the past 12 to 18 months?
We have seen different ways of applications actually that really stuck with me, since I thought they were very thoughtful and so simple at the same time. So not really sure if Jack Wolfskin is a brand that you know in the US. It's a very well-known outdoor retailer here in Europe, and they've been around for quite a time, and they are facing a problem. So they would like to be worn on adventures. As I said, it's an outdoor brand that would like to address young folks that go out on adventures, actually go hiking. The problem is that in Germany, rather elderly people, like in the cities, are wearing Jack Wolfskin. So that was a problem that Jack Wolfskin had to tackle. So in terms of customer group, it almost became like a saying or a joke to say, "Oh yeah, it's a Jack Wolfskin jacket, so you know, must be a teacher or someone who retired from their job or something." So rather elderly people. So what they did was a very simple campaign that I really love. They had a campaign called "Go Backpack." So they added a small flag to every purchase and backpack that they sold in a certain period of time, and said, if you share a picture or video with this flag, which said "Go Backpack," then you might have the chance to get back the price you paid for the backpack. So when you look at it, very little input by the brand. I mean, paying back the price for a backpack, that's fair enough. For the single person, that's pretty cool, since the backpack is 200 or 250 euros. So that's a lot of money that you get back for one picture. And this led to many people actually sharing content. They collected more than 5,000 pictures and videos within 2 months. And it was the perfect content since it was always out there. It was always on the countryside, always adventurous when people went hiking or base jumping or whatever it was. So what happened was that not only there was plenty of content that Jack Wolfskin did not really pay for, but their message, hey, we're not in the city, we're not worn by elderly people, was not something they had to say, but their customers did it for the brand. So it was way more authentic, way more believable, and it was, yeah, it was so much more effective in putting lots of marketing and branded and owned media and saying, hey, look at us, we're so adventurous. But they rather, by paying some backpacks back, they achieved not only to have plenty of content in a very cost effective way, but they also had a great shift in brand perception with this kind of
Wow.
campaign. So I really, really like that one.
Wow, that's really cool. I would really love to see that. Do you have that on the squarelovin website as a testimony or a case study? I would love to check that out.
Yes, actually we do. So it's on
Perfect.
squarelovin.com you'll find.
Love
Um,
it.
Another agency, if you would like to hear another example,
Yeah.
is a performance marketing agency here from Hamburg. And what they do is they are sourcing user generated content to really, yeah, to find the most effective visuals and content pieces for their performance advertising. Meaning that they source 10 pictures for an instant, check them out, and then hours later, not even on daily, but rather on a like hour basis, they exchange content and have A/B testing running against each other to figure out which kind of content, which visual is actually winning and has the best opening rate or whatever rate. And I think that's a great advantage of UGC against branded content. I mean, you're having a very cost intensive content production. It's going to be in one environment, probably one beach, one background, one, uh, however you want to call it, content language or setting that you're really stuck to. And I think UGC, you can change it in instant. It can be different trend. It can be a different ethnicity. How do you say that? Like people from a different place, whatever. So the variety of user generated content is so much bigger and has such a pace that they were able to create the best results for their customers actually by exchanging it every single hour, running it against running the content against each other. And I think that is simply not possible if you're limited in terms of content pieces that you have access to.
I love that. I love that in the sense that you can split test ad campaigns that quickly and easily as far as getting the content, putting it out there, putting ads behind it. And yeah, I've even seen Benedict with our clients too that video that looks less produced, something where you're just walking down the sidewalk or in an office is much more engaging sometimes than just like a studio background, right? Cool.
Absolutely. And I think we worked on one project this summer that, in my opinion, wasn't too well planned. Was about user generated content too. It was one of the biggest like beauty retailers here in Europe, um, and you could win a football jersey, and I think that was not the coolest incentive ever seen, to be honest. That was on the one hand side the thing, and the second one was their entire campaign was linked to the European Championship in football. So what happened? Germany did not play too well this year, and they were out of the tournament in a quite an early stage, and so the entire campaign died from one day to the other. So um, that would be a recommendation. Of course, it's a big event. People are really emotional about it, but still, you should always be aware that your campaign somehow should survive without the linkage to a certain event or to a special day. And that's what they kind of kind of forgot. They really hoped for Germany to become champions, and then the campaign would have been a success. But yeah,
Yeah, that's really interesting because I've definitely seen campaigns, let's say contests or giveaways, where they ask for user generated content, but the barrier to entry is so high in the sense of, oh, you have to use certain words, certain aspects of it. And not only that though, but the prize, like the reward for jumping through those hoops, for a jersey might not be as attractive. And not only that though, but when you're linking a campaign to an event that may just overshadow your campaign in general, like your hashtag can't even be seen because people are emotionally charged and they're
Yeah.
talking about different aspects of the game and all the different things that no one even sees the campaign in their peripheral. So that's a really good point, is to think about pre-planning, production, and promotion and all how they work together.
Yeah.
Very true. Great. So one of the great features within Agora Pulse is the queue, where content can be lined up and scheduled days or even months in advance. I know that's one of the things that I love to do with my publishing queue in Agora Pulse. And so when user generated content surfaces up with a tool like squarelovin, the beauty behind that is that it can actually be added to the asset library within Agora Pulse and then teed up to be shared to a client's brand channels to help achieve all of the benefits pretty much that we've been discussing. And so I think those of you that are Agora Pulse users, use this for your agencies, content creators, that's a great way to tie in if you're working with brands too, right? So now, user generated content, for those of you that are tuning in, right? User generated content is by definition content that users create and own. So, Benedict, what are some best practices or precautions that agencies and brands need to take into consideration?
I think there are two aspects you should be really aware of. The very first I already mentioned is essential media usage rights. So there's an urban legend saying that every picture, video uploaded on Instagram is owned by Facebook, which is simply false. And there's the second, belief that the moment someone uses your hashtag or tags your brand, that would be as if they would give you permission to use their content piece for your advertising or marketing. That's the second, the belief that is simply wrong and false. So what you need is explicit permission from the Instagram user who has created the picture or video to actually use it and go forward with it in your marketing. And that, as I already mentioned, can be a very time-consuming job, using Excel lists and documenting the conversation with like single persons. If you're allowed to use a picture for a certain activity, for a certain channel, for a certain campaign, people start bargaining about it. You can believe me. So they then want to see discount codes or products or whatever it is, and this very often stops the beautiful thought of a UGC campaign in the legal department of a firm, or simply the marketing colleagues already say, no, it's way too much work. We're not going to pursue it. So that is the one fact, media usage rights. And the second is something that if you're actually asking for user generated content, if you start that kind of conversation, then you should really, as a brand or agency, should be aware conversation is where people say something, listen to each other, and then again interact. Because we are witnessing so many brands that simply say, yeah, use our hashtag something, and then nothing happens with that. So they simply ask for something, and then that's it. So if you're really asking for that kind of content, if you want to interact with it and integrate it into your marketing mix, then then please react to this. Give your community stage, interact with the content, even if it's just a like or a comment or something. But if you want to have this conversation, then you should really step into the game and then really interact. And then maybe 2.5 advices. The very last one is you will somehow be displayed in social media or something. So the conversation about your brand, your product has already started. There's no chance, only because you do not have an Instagram account, someone will talk about you and share content related to your brand. So the best you can do actually is to moderate it. You will never be fully able to steer the conversation or whatever it is, but try to stay within this in this environment, try to moderate it somehow and react to whatever is shared towards you. That's probably the two main advices we can give.
I love that. Those yes, media usage rate is definitely always important. And I love that you also talked about if you're asking your consumers, your fan base to use a specific hashtag, it makes sense for you to engage with that hashtag as well, knowing that it's a dialogue that you're having across social media platforms. Just recently, I hosted a virtual summit and we were trying to get in touch with the actual platform provider. And I kid you not, on Twitter, their first pinned tweet says, if you have questions, use this hashtag. And so I clicked on the hashtag, and other event organizers who I wasn't affiliated with were asking questions, and not once did that platform actually respond. And I was like, oh, I wish I had seen this before I had actually had any issues, you know? So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think for any brand to have a branded hashtag, you created it. Now you have to make the commitment to engage with your consumers as well.
Yep. But you're mentioning the branded hashtag, and since it's 2021, I would wish that every brand would have one. But I know that, I don't know, like, I think Ralph Lauren, they used hashtag fashion or hashtag shirt for so long. It was really a pain to witness that one. Or I see it here in Germany. I mean, everyone figured out that hashtags are a new way of communicating, and it's like a it's like a place where a topic really lives and people interact. Every German insurance is having on their advertising, it says hashtag health. And so you really see no one really thought about if there's any sense behind it. They just thought, okay, it's a trend we should follow. But yeah, we see so many brands still sticking to very generic hashtags and leaving out the very simple chance of concentrating the conversation around their brand in one spot.
Yeah, that's another conversation to have is, the birth and the evolution of hashtags and how they're actually not only just being used by brand campaigns, but how the consumer, how audiences online use that to really find the information that they're looking for, whether it's general and broad or if it's specifically tied to a product or a brand campaign. That's a fun thing to talk about. So, having said that, Agency Accelerated fam, you know what we're going to cover next is going to tie in everything that we just discussed together and make it super simple for you to get started when it comes to user generated content. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to our live audience for tuning in. Nancy Lewis Hill, who says, UGC versus paid inauthentic influencers. They're two different things. Yes, I would definitely say yes, because inauthentic influencers are usually just the ones that are just trying to go out there for brand deals, have never really used the product until they're educated on how to use it from the brand itself. And most UGC is someone's just showing their first impression or showing off or trying to educate their own family and friends on how it's being used. Benedict, would you add anything to that?
I mean, if you say inauthentic influencers, then I think your answers sums it up pretty perfectly. In general, I think that influencers are a very great puzzle piece in the marketing mix, and they definitely there's a need for them, and I think they serve certain purposes. But if it's about the purest, the most authentic content marketing, then I think UGC is unbeatable on spot number one.
That's true. That's true. So, Benedict, how do you recommend agencies actually get started with UGC? How should they position their services?
I think that they might come off, or they should combine it with this with the experience or expertise they already have in house. As I said, if you're a content marketing agency and you're supporting, or social media agency and you're supporting your customers in terms of, okay, you're delivering engaging content for every single marketing channel, so should not be the same picture video on every single channel. So you're delivering engaging content pieces with a specific message on every channel. So If you would combine that, then user-generated content would allow you to source from an ocean of content actually, and to widen your offering, not in terms of being the fastest when it comes to stock photos or content creation, but being the ones with the greatest variety and greatest choice of content actually. Same applies for if you're a performance marketing agency, as I mentioned before. You could integrate it into your offering, not in terms of we're creating content for you, but we're actually sourcing UGC and have that staying next to what we've created before. So again, it's a widening of the entire service. I think the arguments for widening the service, yeah, we're talking about it for the last 45 minutes, why you should integrate UGC into that. So I think it simply offers, yeah, I think the great variety and the speed and pace that you might interact or provide your client with content and performance and actual results is the main key.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's a great way for agencies to position themselves or include UGC into their services. I love how you mentioned paid media because sometimes user generated content is the best converting content that's out there. Of course, you want to split test that as well. And having said that, I want to give a shout out to Tristan Griffiths, who he said, I shot my 8 a.m. live outside a great spa hotel. Stunning location, real and raw, and often comes out beautifully. And I think that's like one of the things that people want to see. Like, if you're coming out of a spa, how are you actually feeling? You know, there's that natural glow that comes from it and all the beautiful things. And so, agencies, I think even when you're positioning your services for UGC, is to not just talk about the benefits of UGC, but kind of like what Benedict did as far as what are the pros, what are the cons, what are some copyright things that you need to be mindful of, and even just like how to repurpose this content down the line. There's a whole life cycle, I would say, that comes in with UGC. We talked earlier about the brand campaigns where their hashtag was overshadowed by a specific event. We also talked about, you know, health insurance companies where they're just using hashtag health and not really seeing the benefits from it as well because it wasn't really thought out. But we're also seeing brands that are seeing the shifts in how consumers are using their products. Case in point with the backpack case study that you had shared earlier, where they're just like, other people are using our products outside of the wilderness and different things. So how can we be a part of that conversation and really shift the tone of our brand and making it much more inclusive, right? Cool. All right, Benedict, thank you so much. It's not
You're more
often
than
that I get
welcome.
yeah, it's not often that I get to geek out about UGC and how it's evolved and changed over time. This has been such a fun interview, very informative, and all of us here in the Agency Accelerated fam, we appreciate your insights. And having said that, can you tell folks where to find you? What's the best way to reach out to you if they have questions?
It's probably our website. It's squarelovin.com. It's a tech nerd homage to the time where all images were squared on Instagram. So squarelovin.com, and then you can simply request a short discovery call or simply write us.
I love it. And everyone, yes, and if you have any questions, yeah, definitely reach out because I looked at the website and it's so well thought out as far as the onboarding process and all the different articles that are there. So if you want more information, definitely go ahead and check out the site. Having said that, friends, that's all we have today, folks. But don't worry, we do have a fantastic series of shows coming up. In our next episode, we'll be talking to the legendary advertising executive, Alan Kay, the mind behind powerful campaigns and messages like if you see something, say something. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. Followed by the one and only Guy Kawasaki. So if you want to be a part of that conversation, definitely join us. We'll also have Derek Robbins, Lee Goff, and more. So remember, everyone, remember to subscribe to the calendar at agorapulse.com/calendar if you want to be sure to catch our live episodes. And if you enjoy podcast listening, we're excited to share. Dun, dun, dun. Agency Accelerated is available on all podcast channels, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon. You have to go there, download it, let us know what you think, write some reviews. We'll absolutely appreciate that. And having said that, take advantage of our free webinar on how to add agency revenue by adding social media services, heading on over to bit.ly/add agency revenue. And I'll see you in your agency accelerating into the next show. I'll see you there.